Welcome friends in lecture 6, lesson 2 is matter around us pure. In this particular lecture we are going to continue with the fractional distillation, but in fractional distillation this time we are going to take the different gases how different gases can be obtained from the air. So as we know that an air is an homogeneous mixture, it contains nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, water molecules, all these substances are present as a mixture in different proportion. Now fractional distillation is a technique by which we can separate these gases from the air composition. So the difference in boiling point is a key importance of component as far as fractional distillation is concerned, is used to separate these liquid mixtures into fraction forms, that is through the distillation process. And the process begins with the liquefaction of the air. So as you are seeing in the diagram itself also, the diagram shows the first of all the air is compressed in a high pressure, the air is been compressed, and then this hot air is passed afterwards through the another chamber where the air passes from outside, and in between the coil is there where the water is passing, which is cooling these components of hot air, and suddenly the drop in the temperature starts making it into the form of an liquid. So first of all the separation starts when the carbon dioxide is having a very low uh, boiling point. So compared to all the gases, it first of all gets converted suddenly into liquid, and from liquid it gets to solidified. The furthermore the gas passes, which is in the some of the portion is in the liquid phase and some of the portion is in the gaseous phase, passes furthermore, and from the separator you are able to see that the green portion is there at the bottom where the liquid, because the temperature has been dropped, below 183, as you are seeing that the boiling point of oxygen is minus 183. From minus 183 it is still having the lower portion, that is minus 100 and maybe having minus 185 or odd around. So only oxygen is getting liquefied, and in oxygen case it is getting liquefied because this is the boiling point, minus 183 is the boiling point. So below the boiling point you can get into form of a liquid. So first of all nitrogen, argon and oxygen, these are the three major components of the air. From that oxygen is having the least boiling point, that is minus 183. So first of all liquid oxygen is obtained, and nitrogen and argon is obtained into the form of a gaseous form. It passes from the liquid oxygen and can be collected at the above. So this is how we can separate these gases one by one. Especially these are the four main types of gases which are present. The 78% nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and 0.9% of argon is there. That means the almost composition is complete. Some of the carbon dioxide and water molecules are obtained. So as you are seeing, the arrow marks is being shown by the air, cool, compressed, decrease in temperature, allowed to pass through the fraction distillation tower, and these gases are getting separated according to their boiling points. Fine. So these are the steps. These have been shown that this is how we convert this particular gaseous air mixture into the first of all into liquid form, and this liquid oxygen that is obtained is filled inside the chamber, and we can obtain the liquid oxygen and can be passed out to hospitals and different places. The same way nitrogen can be also be obtained. Fine. Now the next portion is how we can obtain copper sulfate from an impure sample. This can be obtained by the method of crystallization. The method of crystallization is very important. Why? Because the impurities are present. Sometimes the impurities have crystallization, you can sublime also, but for sublimation to one of the substance should be like that can we go for sublimation. But here the substances are does not having any kind of property like sublimation. So what we do, we dissolve into a proper solvent and allow it to crystallize, and when it allow it to crystallize, the crystals are obtained, the blue, like copper sulfate if I say. So blue color crystals are obtained of copper sulfate, so only copper sulfate gets accumulated on that particular sample and can be collected from the mixture. So you have the crystals of copper sulfate, alum. These are the different substances which can be obtained into the pure form. So applications are purification of salt. In by the crystallization method, we are obtaining lot of amount of salt, NaCl, from the seawater by the method of crystallization. Allow it to saturate it out and allow the water to slowly get evaporated, and at some point of time in evaporation, we the only all the water gets evaporated and only salt remains there. The same way alum, that is we call it as an fatakdi in Gujarati and Hindi also, used as an antiseptic, crystals are obtained. The another is sugar, that can be obtained because overheating it gets stirred and get into form of an powder. So crystallization is the method by we can obtain this sugar also. The next portion is purification of water. Now in purification of water system, how we can purify it out? So during the process of purification, water which comes to the filtration tank, impurities are suspended, and filtration tank which has three layers, that is fine sand layer at the top, coarse sand and middle layer, and the gravels, that is a large stones at the bottom side. This process is obtained. First of all, what happens? Reservoir. What is a reservoir? Where the water that has to be cleaned is brought to that particular place, that is called as a reservoir. From this reservoir there passes, that is a places, only we can't clean the entire river as a portion and convert into drinking form. So some amount of water is stored from the river, and from that particular portion, one the amount, the tanks are there. So these tanks are called as an settling tanks. So in this particular, the water is allowed to pass, and no movements are there. So just because of it, thus higher big organic materials and non-organic materials which are larger in size get sedimented there. So they get sedimented at the bottom, then the water is passed, then that waste is been cleaned up, and this water is passed furthermore. Furthermore also, it is allowed to settle down into small 4-5 tanks. Here it is shown as another tank, and it is again the sedimentation process starts. So so in this sedimentation, again the sedimentation allows the smaller particles which are, because it is a suspension, the particles get settled down after some point of time. So again the water is passed through, and it is filtered through a very fine sand, then a middle layer of sand, that is called as an porous gravel, coarse gravel, which is in small stones, and gravel, that are the large pebbles that you see, and stones, and these are at the bottom of it. So from the fine sand the water passes to the larger particles, from larger to the very large particles, and it has been cleaned up, and it passes through the chlorine tank, maybe sometimes sulfur dioxide also. So chlorine tank and chlorine tank, it passes so that it can be, bacteria can be killed and it can be free from the germs, and it goes to home from drinking purposes. This is how we purify. So water from the livers and legs comes to the canal from the long pipe, that is waterworks, it has been said, and mixed with the required quantity of alum and soda lime sometimes also. So soda lime is making a mixture in the white jelly like of aluminum hydroxide, a jelly like substance which can furthermore settle down. So settling of the tank, as I told you, it happens and passes through three of the particles. First is fine sand, second is gravel, cause, and that is sand particles which are larger in size, and then lastly the you can say gravels which are larger stones, and furthermore it is been passed through the chlorine tank, where it is chlorinated and becomes germ free and can be ready for the drinking purpose. Fine. So this is what we have learned, three important notes for today. So thank you for this particular lecture.